Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nittai Gaura Haribol 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 Nittai Gaura Haribol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Very happy and grateful to be amidst all of you all here today. After 3 years, 2.5 years, I am so very happy to see all of you all physically existing still. Most people only exist online nowadays. Very difficult to get people out of their houses now. You know? The online world has literally spoilt all of us. Before COVID began in 2019, 20, right? 20, yeah. 2019, I literally traveled to 20 countries. And today, I don't feel like coming to Goa also. I have to think like 10 times whether I want to go or not go. Because the online world has become so convenient. But yet, there is a big difference between having a physical program, offline program, and a online. Massive, massive difference. The energy levels, just seeing each other also is. I mean, you can't do kirtan online, obviously, right? Many people have tried doing kirtan online. Massive failure trying to do kirtan online. So, anyways, very happy to be here. And I'm going to speak on this subject called the heart of a devotee. Over the last 6 months, 21 weeks, I've been doing a course on the Hanuman Chalisa. Every Saturday for the last 6 months, I've been doing, taking two chaupais of Hanuman Chalisa and going very deep in it through stories and very deep lessons. So I'm going to share one session with all of you all today. And I can't even begin to tell you how much joy and happiness I have got in teaching. I don't know whether people are happy in hearing or no, but at least the ecstasy and the joy that I have experienced in teaching this course is just phenomenal. And I'm hoping that all of you all during the course of the next 45 minutes or 1 hour will get a small sample of what I have been experiencing over the last 6 months. Hanuman Chalisa is something that everyone knows, and almost everyone knows it by heart. We've been hearing it thousands and thousands of times. probably reciting it thousands and thousands of times. But meditating on every word of the Hanuman Chalisa is another level of experience. So let me first recite one chopai of the Hanuman Chalisa, and then we will go deep into that verse, into the chopai, and then we'll do another chopai. So we'll do two chopais today. That's what we're going to be doing, okay? And through the chopais, I'm going to be sharing stories. Vidyavan gune ati chatur, Rama kaja karibeko atur. So this verse essentially is very simple. I mean, like, Avadi is a very simple bhasha and everybody understands it. But let me explain what this verse means through stories, and then we will understand the mood of Hanumanji even better. This word chatur means intelligent. Vidyavan means knowledgeable, somebody who is very learned. Gune ati chatur. So, one is to have knowledge. The second is to apply that knowledge. There are many people who are knowledgeable, but very few are chatur. Very few have the ability to apply that knowledge in life, practically. So while we are discussing this, I'm going to be speaking about the qualities of a devotee. You know, what really it means to be a good devotee of the Lord. So you'll find it all happening together, okay? So don't expect me to tell this is what it means to be a good devotee. You have to figure it out. During the Ram-Ravan war, there was a particular day where Ravan organized something known as Chandi Stotra. So when Ram's army, they came to know that Chandi Stotra is being organized by Ravan, they were scared. Even that word Chandi Stotra kind of really created tremors in the heart. So Vibhishan told Ram that if this Chandi Stotra has become successful, then Ravan can never be defeated. So Ram told Hanumanji, you won't figure it out. So Hanumanji went into Lanka. He took the form of a small bee, honeybee, and he went into Lanka hovering around trying to figure out. And he found the place where the Chandi Stotra was going on. And when he saw the arena of the Chandi Stotra and who was actually doing the Chandi Stotra, he was shocked that Brahaspati, who was the guru of the gods, he himself was doing the Chandi Stotra. Now Hanuman was bewildered. Why is Brahaspati, siding Ravan? And then Hanuman figured out that Brahaspati had no option because he was surrounded by Ravan's people. And out of force, he was doing it. So Hanumanji decided now he has to destroy Chandi Stotra somehow, So he had to do something to stop this from happening. So Hanuman saw that Brahaspati was holding palm leaves in which the Chandi Stotra was written. So Hanumanji went in the form of this tiny little bee and he rubbed the verses of the Chandi Stotra. But Brahaspati kept chanting because he had it all by heart. He didn't even refer to that paper basically. So Hanumanji realized that this is not working. So what Hanumanji did, now he's sitting on that palm leaf. And suddenly, when Hanuman saw that all the guards are not looking at Brahaspati, Hanuman suddenly took the form of a ghost and just took a huge form, really scared Brahaspati, and then again became a tiny honeybee. And in that one moment, before the guards could see, Brahaspati freaked out. He began to scream, he began to run here and there. He got so scared. Imagine, from the paper something comes out, And the guards had no idea what he was doing, why he's running around. And finally, when Brahaspati settled down, they made him again start. But he was already so scared, he couldn't focus. He was making all mistakes. So Ravan sent Brahaspati away and he got another set of Brahmanas. So now this was like plan B for Ravan, So he got a set of Brahmanas, very elderly people, very learned people to come and do the Chandi Stotra. And while they were coming, among them was a very young, enthusiastic Brahman. Nobody realized that it is Hanumanji who took the form of a Brahman. And he was so energetic and so enthusiastic. He was serving all the older Brahmanas. And the older Brahmanas are amazed. Anything they want, he only went and got it for them, So finally, the older Brahmanas were very impressed with this young Brahman. They told him, "You ask anything you want, we'll give you." Hanumanji said, "I don't want anything for myself. I only want something for our king Ravan." They said, "You tell, whatever you want, we'll do." He said, "When you complete the Chandi Stotra, just replace the word her by ka." So the Chandi Stotra ends by saying something, 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 Chamundi Harini. So he said, replace that Harini by Karini. That's all. Replace her by ka, and Ravan's power will increase unlimited. So the Brahmana said, "Fine, we'll do it. Whatever you say to make you happy." And they completed the Chandi Stotra by using the word Karini instead of Harini. And exactly the reverse happened. Goddess Chandi got wild. She destroyed everything in that place. So instead of being pleased with Ravan, she became totally displeased with Ravan. So Hanumanji was not just intelligent, but he knew how to apply that intelligence also in the service of the Lord. And that is the idea of Gune Ati Chatur. Vidyavana Gune Ati Chatur. So anytime when we are asked to use our knowledge, it is not that we use it whimsically, but we always see how this knowledge can be used in the service of the Lord, and the application of the knowledge has to be according to the situation. It's not that, just because you have knowledge, you can go and give anywhere, any bhashan, basically. You should know how to apply it also in the right way. So the first part of the verse is about intelligence. The second part of the verse is about how you can use whatever ability you have in the service of the Lord. Ram Kaja Karibeko Atur. So this word Ram Kaj is a very interesting word. What is the meaning of Ram Kaj? Ram Kaj means do things in the service of Lord Ram, isn't it? So let me explain this with the help of a story from the Ramayana. After the entire war gets over and Ram becomes the king of Ayodhya, all the Vanaras are along with Ram to attend the coronation ceremony. And after the coronation ceremony, everything gets over. Then Ram comes and meets all the Vanaras and thanks them, so much you did for me, very grateful. Ram gives all of them gifts and tells all of them, go back home now. And he tells them, all of you go back home and do Ram Kaj. They tell the Lord, Are, if we all go back home, we'll do Kam Kaj. How will do Ram Kaj? If we are staying in Ayodhya, we'll do Ram Kaj. But in Kishkinda, we'll end up doing Kam Kaj. That's what all of us do, right? Kam Kaj. So Ram said, no, that's not how it is. I want you all to go back home and do Ram Kaj. So the Vanaras are very confused. How do we go back home and do Ram Kaj? Ram explained to them, till the time I reached Kishkinda, all of you all were doing Kam Kaj. Because all of you were thinking, your house is yours. Your family belongs to you. Your children belong to you. But from the time I reached Kishkinda, the thought process is, everything belongs to Ram. My family belongs to Ram. My house belongs to Ram. My children belong to Ram. So if I'm actually doing some work to feed my family, I'm actually doing Ram Kaj. Because this is also service to Lord Ram only. So Ram tells all of them, go back and do Ram Kaj. So all of them happily return back. Only two people don't go back. One is Angad and second is Hanumanji. So Ram tells Angad, why are you not going back? Angad gives him two reasons. He tells him two reasons why he doesn't want to go. The first thing he tells is, my dear Lord, don't send me back to Kishkinda. Give me any menial service in Ayodhya. Give me any menial service in Ayodhya. I want to stay here only. And the second thing Angad says is, I don't have any family over there. So let me just stay here and serve you. Ram immediately realizes that this fellow should go back only. So he tells Angad, you go back. The understanding the Acharyas give is, the first reason that Angad gave, that give me some menial service. Which means Angad is differentiating good and bad service. He's thinking some service is menial and some service is not so menial. The moment you differentiate between seva, that means you're not qualified to serve. So if somebody says giving lecture is nice seva and doing jhadu pocha is bad seva, menial seva, that means that person is not qualified to give lecture. The moment you start differentiating between services, that means you're not qualified for serving. So Ram realized that this person is differentiating. He's saying, give me menial service. That means he doesn't understand the value of service. So he can't be here. And the second thing Angad says is, I don't have any family in Kishkinda. What does it mean? What he means to say actually is, he's scared of Sugriv. So Vali is dead. His father is dead. Now his uncle is the king. He doesn't know how his uncle is going to treat him. So when he's saying, I don't have any family there, he has family actually. But when he's saying, I don't have any family there, means he's scared of Sugriv, and that's why he doesn't want to go. So Ram is saying, he's scared of Sugriv, so that means his desire to serve is not out of love, it is out of fear. It is out of fear of Sugriv. So Ram says, no, this is not the reason to stay here, go back. Interestingly, Hanuman didn't ask Ram, can I stay? And Ram didn't ask Hanuman, do you want to stay? They didn't speak only to each other. Understood. Hanuman is going to stay there. And it's understood that Ram is not going to ask him to leave also. Hanuman was the only one who stayed back. Because for him, everywhere is Ram Kaj only. Hanuman doesn't have a life of his own. He has no private life. For him, everything is about serving the Lord. And this is what the idea of service attitude is. Srila Prabhupada, whenever he speaks or translates or speaks about service, if you read Prabhupada's books, everywhere he writes service attitude. He doesn't just write service, he writes service attitude. That means it is not about just doing the seva, it is about the attitude with which you do the seva that really attracts the heart of the Lord, that really touches the heart of the Lord. So, the whole mood in which Lord Ram and his devotees exist is from this point of view. When Lord Ram went to Pampa Sarovar, he went to Matanga Rishi's ashram before he met Sugriv. In Matanga Rishi's ashram, Ram sees some trees, and these trees have fragrant flowers. And the fragrance of these flowers extends to miles. And that means for miles together, you can smell the fragrance of these flowers. So Ram asks Shabari, what are these flowers? How are they so fragrant? And Shabari gives a very interesting story. So Shabari says, one time my guru Matanga Rishi was sitting here in this ashram. And it was evening time. And the disciples of Matanga Rishi came back with logs of wood. They were carrying logs of wood. So when they came back carrying logs of wood, they were sweating like anything. And Matanga Rishi saw them sweating. And they were like exhausted after putting so much effort in serving the Guru. Matanga Rishi was so touched by their service, Matanga Rishi blessed them that wherever your drops of sweat fall, there fragrant trees will grow. So wherever those drops of sweat of these disciples fell, these trees grew. And these trees had fragrance, flowers that were so fragrant that miles together the fragrance emitted. So imagine, this is the fragrance of devotional service. So when you serve the Lord and the spiritual master with your sweat and blood, you attract so much of their heart. There are three types of disciples. The first type of disciple is known as Dhela. Dhela means stone. So Have you ever seen a stone move from one place to another? No. For a stone to move from one place to another, somebody has to pick it up and put it there. And it will stay there only for next how much ever time. Yeah? And then from there to move somewhere else, somebody has to pick it up and put it somewhere else, basically. This is the first type of disciple. They are Dela. I mean, that is the level at which they are almost like stones only. You know? The spiritual master has to pick them up and put them somewhere. They will stay there. They will not move 1 inch. The second type of disciples are known as Thela. You know what's a Thela? Handcart. For a handcart to move, somebody has to push from behind. It's at least more flexible than a stone. But even for the handcart to move, the guru only has to put effort. धक्का मार मार के आगे लेके जाने. अरे बाबा 2 माला करो, उसके बाद 2 माला कर दो, 4 माला करो, you know. So धक्का मार मार के, you know. So some people are like handcart, thela. You just have to keep pushing them, pushing them, pushing them. You stop pushing them, they stop growing. You start pushing them, they suddenly start growing, basically. And the third type of people are known as Chela. Chela means they understand the heart of the spiritual master even before the spiritual master says. That is the kind of disciple we all should become. That means we don't need to be lifted, picked up and put somewhere else, lifeless, basically. We don't have to be kept on pushing, you know. We should have inspiration from within. And that's what this verse is about. Rama kaja karibeka, the desire to atur. The word atur means eagerness, intense desire to do something. And that's what a devotee is, the desire to serve. And not just the desire to serve, but the attitude of service should be right. The next chopai says, Prabhu Charitra Sunibeko Rasiya Ram Lakana Sitaman Basya. Just before, actually, just after the Vanaras returned back from Lanka, Lord Ram was very impressed, very happy with, you know, they found Mother Sita, and he was so happy with everyone. And one by one, everyone was getting gifts. This is actually much later, when they returned back to Ayodhya. So one by one, they were getting gifts. All the Vanaras were getting different gifts. So Hanumanji came right in the end. So Lord Ram tells Hanumanji that, my dear Hanuman, why did you come so late? I have given all the gifts away. Now I have nothing to give you. So what will you do now? I don't have any gift to give you. So Hanumanji tells Ram, my dear Lord, I don't want the big gifts. Just give me the small gift. Give me the smallest thing you have. So Ram says, what is the smallest thing I have? So Hanumanji says, when Lord Ram had met Parashuram, you know, after Mithila, when Lord Ram met Parashuram, Ram told Parashuram something. And Hanumanji remembered that somehow, you know. So Ram told Parashuram, the smallest thing I have is my name, Rama. So small it is. So Hanuman tells, give me the smallest thing that you have, Rama, your name. So Lord Ram was so happy with Hanumanji, and I mean, what a thought. He's saying, don't give me big gifts. Give me the smallest thing that you have. And what is the smallest thing Ram has? His name, Ram. So small it is. So he said, give me your name. That day, officially, Hanumanji became the owner of Ram Nam. From that day, anybody who wants to take Ram now, they will take Hanumanji's permission. So Hanumanji got the smallest thing, but actually, in that smallest thing, the entire universe is there. In that small 2-syllable Ram, the 2-syllable name of Lord Ram, the entire universe is there. Prabhu Charitra Sunibeko Rasya. So Hanumanji has such an eagerness to hear Ram Nam, to chant Ram Nam, such an eagerness. And that eagerness is a very natural manifestation in a devotee's heart. One time, just after the whole Ram Ravan war gets over and Sita Ram become the king of Ayodhya, Lord Shiva and Parvati decide to visit them. And Shiva Parvati come to visit, Ram and Sita. So they go, they meet Ram, Sita. Sita Ram, they invite them for lunch to eat together. So Shiva Parvati are happy to have lunch with Ram and Sita. So suddenly Shiva asks, "Where is Hanumanji?" And Ram says, if he is not in the palace, he must be in the garden. So Shiva goes out to the garden, Shiva and Parvati, to see where Hanumanji is. And they see that Hanumanji is sleeping in the garden under a tree, fast asleep. And he is snoring. And the most amazing thing is, in the snore of Hanumanji, Ram Nam is being emitted. When we snore, what kind of dangerous sounds come out? Allah, it's like very, very risky to sleep with a person who is snoring, right? And Hanumanji was snoring and Ram Nam was being chanted. And the most amazing thing was, Lord Shiva saw that the tree under which Hanumanji was sitting, sleeping, all the leaves of the tree were vibrating with Ram Nam. Imagine the power of Hanumanji's, snoring and the vibrations of Ram Nam coming out from that snore. And every leaf of the tree was vibrating. Shiva went mad in ecstasy. He started jumping and dancing, started doing his Rudra Tandav, basically, playing his Damuru and singing the holy names. And seeing Shiva dance, Parvati also started dancing. And seeing Shiva Parvati dance, all the Apsaras, the Kinnaras, the Chanaras, all of them joined playing musical instruments. And there was like massive Harinam Kirtan going on in the garden of Lord Ram and Sita. So in the meanwhile, Sita and Ram were waiting, and they are not coming back only. They sent Lakshman to find out what's happening, in the garden. So Lakshman went in and he saw there was a Sankirtan going on there. He also began to dance, And then they sent Bharat after some time. The Bharat also began to dance. And then they sent Shatrugna. He also didn't come back only. Then finally Sita Ram themselves went to find out, what exactly is happening. Nobody is coming back. And then they saw this massive Sankirtan going on, Shiva dancing, Parvati is dancing, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrugna are dancing, and one person is sleeping there, And Lord Ram realized that he is the cause of the problem. So Ram went and shook Hanumanji and woke him up. And Hanuman was so embarrassed, He didn't realize that he's created such a chaos just by sleeping, basically. And then, they woke him up and they took him inside. And then they all sat together to eat. And Mother Sita forced Hanumanji to sit to eat. Usually Hanuman eats the last. He serves everyone, and then finally, whatever remnants of Lord Ram is there, he eats. But this time, Sita forced him to sit. So Hanumanji had no option. He sat there, and Hanuman began to eat massive quantities. Like eating, and Sita was in anxiety because all the food is getting over, and one person only eating so much, And Sita now couldn't stop him from eating also. She was feeling embarrassed. So Lord Shiva understood there is something wrong in the calculations of prasad quantity, Lord Shiva took a tulsi leaf, and on the tulsi leaf he wrote the name Ram, and he put it on Hanumanji's hand. And Hanumanji ate that tulsi leaf, and his hunger completely disappeared, And then Lord Shiva blessed him that may you always have the taste for chanting the holy names of the Lord and for hearing Ram Katha. So that is the blessing Lord Shiva gave Hanumanji. And also he blessed him that because you have such a taste for the holy name, you will be the protector of all the devotees of Lord Ram. So like that, that's when Hanuman got the name Sankat Mochan Hanuman, basically. So Prabhu Charitra Suni Beko Rasya. So this Prabhu Charitra is not only Ram Katha, but is also Ram Nam. And Rasya, the word Rasya means as somebody who has intense taste for it, intense absorption, intense focus. And Ram Lakana Sita Manubasya. So we all know the story of how when the end of the war, Sita was offering gifts to all the Vanaras. So she called Hanumanji and gave him a diamond necklace. So Hanumanji, he saw the diamond necklace, he broke it, started looking inside it. And he was disappointed. He threw it, he started breaking every small diamond. So all the residents of Ayodhya were bewildered. He said, what kind of a person is this? The queen of the land is offered you. You are a monkey. You don't even know how to respect the gift that the queen has offered. Hanumanji said, see, if Sita Ram are not inside this, it's useless for me. So then the residents of Ayodhya said, you are saying as if Sita Ram is there everywhere. What if Sita Ram is not in your heart? So you think that heart is useless? Hanumanji just tore open his heart right in front of everyone. Just ripped open his heart. And in the heart of Hanumanji was Sita Ram. The most amazing thing about Hanumanji is, it is not only that Sita Ram is in the heart of Hanumanji, but in the heart of Ram, Hanumanji is also there. So it's not that it's only one way, It's only that, Hanuman is remembering Sita and Ram. But Ram is equally remembering Hanumanji. And therefore, Tulsidas, in his last prayers, he is offering respects to Hanumanji, knowing very well. He is saying, oh Hanuman, please come and reside in my heart. Knowing very well, if Hanuman comes and resides, means Sita Rama already there inside. Because in the heart of Hanumanji is Sita and Ram present, right? A great devotee is someone who is trying his or her best to absorb their hearts, absorb their minds in the holy name of the Lord. And in a heart that is filled with darkness, there is very less chance that Ram resides. One devotee was asked, which Ram do you want? Do you want Ayodhya Ram? Do you want Chitrakoot Ram? Do you want Kishkinda Ram? Do you want Rameshwaram Ram? Which Ram exactly do you want? He said, I want Lanka Ram. They said, come on, why are you saying Lanka Ram? So this devotee said, everywhere Ram went, he was invited. In Ayodhya, Dasharath Maharaj invited him from the spiritual world, right? Kishkinda, he was invited by Sugriv. In Panchavati, Agastya invited him. In Chitrakoot, Bharadwaj Muni invited him. Every place Ram was invited by somebody. The only place he went without being invited is Lanka. So that is the only hope for me. Lanka Ram is somebody who goes without being invited. And he said, my heart is like Lanka. Dark. Very dark. So all our hearts are in one sense like Lanka only. Very dark. So in a dark place, the possibility of God entering is very limited. But even in the darkest place, there is a small window. Even in the darkest place. You open that window a little bit, so much light floods in, right? So our hearts are like a dark place, like Lanka. Our ears are like a small window. So from our ears, when we hear the holy name, when we hear Ram Katha, when we hear Krishna Katha, through that ears, it's like a small ray of hope entering our hearts. And someday, our hearts which are dark, very difficult for the Lord to reside, will suddenly be filled with hope if we use the ears for listening carefully. But if we use the ears for the wrong purpose, what is the wrong purpose? The wrong purpose is we use the ears for glorifying ourselves. Right? In the Ramayana, there's one character called Kumbhakarna. Karna means ears. And Kumbhakarna means the one who has big ears. Though Kumbhakarna had big ears, he filled his ears with self-glorification. He filled his ears with hearing about his own glories. So Kumbhakarna, he was so huge, and Kumbhakarna in the Ramayana represents pride. He represents pride. Of all the anarthas, lust, anger, greed, envy, all of them we can deal with it ourselves. But the one anartha that we can't deal with ourselves is pride. Pride is the one anartha that we need help from God. We can't deal with it ourselves. So when Kumbhakarna comes into the battlefield, all the Vanaras run. And Kumbhakarna eats them up. He picks them up in dozens and puts them inside his mouth. And Kumbhakarna is so huge. So at some point, the Vanaras are just not able to deal with him. Hanumanji comes and hits a massive stone on his head. Nothing happens to Kumbhakarna. Completely normal. Angad comes and hits a massive boulder on the chest of Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna hits him. Angad goes and falls off. And then Sugriv comes to fight against Kumbhakarna. And Sugriv, with one punch, Kumbhakarna makes Sugriv unconscious. And then Kumbhakarna, he takes Sugriv, puts him on his shoulders, and goes back into Lanka. Now imagine the king of the Vanaras is gone. So all the Vanaras began to panic. They are like in great fear. They don't know what to do. And Sugriv has now gone back with Kumbhakarna into Lanka. And Kumbhakarna is entering back into Lanka, and all the Lanka Vasis are so happy that Kumbhakarna has brought back the king of the Vanaras. Half the fight is over. And then, to celebrate Kumbhakarna's re-entry into Lanka with the king of the Vanaras, they start throwing flowers. They start throwing scented water on Kumbhakarna. And some of that scented water falls on Sugriv when he wakes up. He's supposed to glorify the fellow, but it wakes up Sugriv, basically. And when Sugriv wakes up, he realizes the situation in which he is. And then he realizes that now I have to deal with Kumbhakarna quickly. You know what Sugriv does? Sugriv jumps up, bites off the ear of Kumbhakarna, bites off the nose of Kumbhakarna, and jumps back and comes running back. Now you might wonder, why did he bite the ears of Kumbhakarna? I mean, what logic hai? So now, from a monkey point of view, monkeys can do anything. That's one logic. But the more important thing that the acharyas explain is that the ears are the medium through which pride enters our life. How does pride enter our life? When people glorify us. When people say, "Arey, such a good person you are, such a smart person you are, such a handsome person you are, such a knowledgeable person you are," and the more you hear about your own praise, you start becoming proud. That is the way in which pride enters our heart. And then Kumbhakarna turns back, and because when your ears, the main source by which you can hear your own glory, is taken away, you get angry. So he comes running back. And this time, Ram keeps all the Vanaras behind him, and Ram stands in front. Why? Because to fight against pride, a sadhaka cannot do it himself. He has to keep God in the front. To deal with pride, it's not our capacity. It is not in our capacity to deal with pride. To deal with pride, Ram himself has to come in the front. And what does Ram do to Kumbhakarna? The first thing Ram does is fills the mouth of Kumbhakarna with arrows. You know why? Because a proud person, when he doesn't hear his own glories, he starts speaking his own glories. When nobody is glorifying you, you glorify yourself. That is what social media is all about today. Nobody is telling anything about you. You tell about yourself only. So, in one sense, all of us are giving birth to Kumbhakarna in our lives by talking about ourselves publicly, right? So, Ram filled up the mouth of Kumbhakarna with arrows, indicating that to deal with pride, you first deal with these two organs, your ears and your mouth. Use your ears in hearing Ram Katha and Ram Nam, and use your mouth in speaking Ram Katha and Ram Nam. When a devotee intensifies absorption from himself to the Lord, to that extent, we can actually experience transformation in our lives. A devotee, one of the most powerful qualities of a devotee is that a devotee shifts the center of attention from the self to the Supreme Lord. The material world, the way the world is designed, it is somehow helping you channelize all energy on yourself. Right? Dress nicely, eat nicely, exercise nicely, earn nicely, enjoy nicely. Everything is about ourselves. Right? The entire world is designed, every single advertisement in the world is designed for self glorification, self aggrandizement, self appreciation. But when we study the Hanuman Chalisa, when we study the Ramayana, when we study the Gita, when we study the Bhagavatam, when we study the commentaries of great acharyas, it shifts your attention from the self to the Lord. And that is one of the most powerful contribution of the acharyas in our lives. So all of us, we are somehow aspiring to become devotees. We are very far from being devotees. But let us meditate on these two aspects that we spoke on today. The first one is about the mood of Hanumanji, where we saw, what are the first quality we saw of Hanumanji? Anybody remembers? Huh? Huh. Using the intelligence, application of knowledge. You know. And then what else we saw? Yeah. How to engage our life in the service of Lord Ram and develop the right attitude towards serving Lord Ram. And then the third thing we saw, उसके बाद, Prabhu Charitra. So the desire to hear, rather than hearing about our own self, we start developing the desire to hear about the glories of the Lord, the glories of the holy names. And how do we hear? When we say that Hanumanji's heart, Sita and Ram were there, what does it indicate? That heart indicates how absorbed you are. So one is to hear at a superficial level, you know. Lecture कैसा था? अच्छा था. क्या सुना? सब अच्छा था. क्या समझा? सब कुछ फर्स्ट क्लास था. आप जो बोले सब समझा. एक तो चीज बोलो समझा क्या है? कुछ याद नहीं है. बहुत अच्छा था. So it's not just about, you know, hearing and forgetting and walking away. You know, it's about how absorbed we are. It's about how much we. It's not about memory. It's about absorption. This is not a test of kitna yaad hai. It's about how much you experience. So hearing Ram Katha and Krishna Katha is not just about memory. It's about an experience. It's about something that you retain in your heart. Huh? Receptive power. I mean, it's just about being absorbed in the katha, in the recitation, in the naam, in that moment, and powerful transformation happens. Powerful transformation happens to the extent we are absorbed. So here, you know, we discussed 2-3 stories of Hanumanji. But if you just observe the entire life of Hanumanji and every single story of Hanumanji, you'll find the same level of absorption in whatever he does. Whether it is something small, whether it is something big, his absorption is absolutely perfect. And more than absorption is perfect, it's absorption in the right attitude, which is what we can really imbibe from Hanumanji. So let us, on this very auspicious and very important juncture of our lives, seek the blessings of Hanumanji. All of us are sitting right under the lotus feet of Hanumanji. So hopefully his blessings descend on all of us, and we can also absorb, we can also develop the right service attitude, and we can also absorb the mood of always wanting to please the Lord and his devotees. Hare Krishna.